Welcome to the City Current Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference and powering the good. And we're honored to kick it off talking about Day 7. We're joined by Candace Clippard, their Executive Director with Day 7. How are you doing, Candace?
I'm doing really well, Jeremy. Thanks for having us.
So you support nonprofits, mission work, and ministries, those who are out doing good. And so you are a massive support network, but give us a little bit of history for Day 7.
Yeah, for sure. So we began, actually it's kind of two different organizations, founded as far back as 2004. But basically with the heart to, like you said, support people in nonprofit work and church work and mission work. The kind of two organizations, one was doing coaching, kind of life coaching work in the nonprofit space, working with staff of nonprofits and school teachers. The other one was kind of offering spiritual and counseling resources to people in the ministry space. In 2018, we merged them together. That's when I took over as executive director. So now we kind of work with a broader group of people, but all people in helping professions. So yeah, clergy, pastors, ministry leaders, but also nonprofit staff, executive directors, kind of frontline staff, anybody and everybody who's working in a helping field. And then we've broadened our scope of services as well. So we focus on physical health, so coaching, nutrition coaching. We work on mental health. So we work with therapists and life coaches. And then we also focus on spiritual health with retreats, spiritual directors, mindfulness practices. A lot of things like yoga overlap into some of those different spaces of health. Everything that we do is kind of a la carte, and we help match people to discounted resources. Kind of realizing people in the helping world are in it because they're passionate about it, which can lead to burnout. But they also aren't in it for the money and don't usually have a lot of disposable income to put towards their health or their self-care. And it's not traditionally covered in benefits packages and things like that. So we basically are trying to make it as affordable and accessible as possible for people who are helping others to also have that support system to help them.
Well, and that's actually where I was going to go next. Is the pandemic has really shown us and revealed the importance of self-help and taking care of ourselves, both health, nutrition, mental health especially. But as you mentioned, these are the individuals who are pouring into others, who are working so hard to give and give and give. And so it leads, like you said, to burnout. And so talk about the importance of what you do in terms of taking care of those who are taking care of others.
Yeah, I think a lot of times people who are in these fields feel like, yeah, I'm super resilient and I have all maybe they're therapists themselves and like, I have all the tools to know how to take care of myself. But yeah, what we've heard kind of over and over, especially through the pandemic, and, we kind of refocused what we were doing just a few years ago, and it's been really timely. To be a place of support in a time when people need it the most. Because I think through the pandemic, especially people in helping professions, as you said, who have been having to continue to help others, that work hasn't stopped, are really reaching a place of like the burnout creeps up. And then all of a sudden people are like, oh, I'm not okay myself. Like I thought I was grooving and I thought I was good. So the pandemic, I think, has really kind of highlighted the need to care for ourselves, especially our own mental health. Counseling has been like the most sought after resource during this last year for people. Before the pandemic, it was kind of spread out. People want to focus on nutrition or focus on, a retreat or things like that. And during the pandemic, it's like, I just need somebody to process with. So I don't know if that really answered your question.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. And I think it leads to the next question, which is talk about where the self-care plans start, because as you mentioned, it is a lot of offering of resources in a very specific environment in terms of what you need, and it's a la carte, but talk about putting together self-care plans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So actually, a lot of times it starts with a workshop that we offer. So I didn't really mention that yet, but we do a lot of kind of one-off workshops. We do some events with workshops. We also customize a lot of workshops for nonprofit groups or for church staff, kind of depending on what people are looking for. It could be in the topic of self-care. It might be in something more specific than that we kind of can offer. So a lot of times people may get their foot in the door just through a workshop, and then we're kind of emphasizing like, hey, you need to take care of yourself so that you can keep taking care of others. You know, it's a super cliche, like put on your own oxygen mask first. And I hate using it because everyone says it, but I mean, it's really true. And so sometimes in a workshop, people may realize like that we hear a lot of times like, oh, I just needed someone to give me permission or to like tell me it wasn't selfish to take care of myself. Then we can start building out self-care plans with them. And sometimes we work with individuals that are just like, hey, I really need a therapist. Who do you have? Or sometimes we work with an organization that may say, we're ready to invest in our staff. And we know that taking care of our staff will help us accomplish our mission. So sometimes we'll work with like an entire agency that'll set aside a certain amount of stipend money per staff member per month to put towards their self-care. Maybe the staff member then is kind of adding in a little bit, and that's what builds their budget. Day 7 offers a lot of scholarship resources as well if the individual or the organization doesn't have that money set aside, although it's better when they do just because there's some personal buy-in. Or the organization, is putting their money where their mouth is and saying, we want to take care of you and we're actually going to give you some money to do that. So that's kind of the ideal scenario. But then we'll take, each individual person or each individual member of the team, and we do an intake with them. We figure out what are their goals, what are their needs, what are they looking for in self-care. And then we have a tiny staff of 2 people, but we have a provider network across Tennessee and beyond because of the virtual world we're working in. Of coaches, therapists, our provider network is over 250 qualified, usually has worked in the nonprofit space themselves, so they understand, and it's a way that they want to give back by offering discounts to Day 7 people. But we have this huge, vast network of qualified providers. So we know what their specialties are. We figure out what the goals of our clients are. And then we start to put the pieces together and say, hey, we think these 3 people would be a really great fit for what you're looking for. They fit your budget. Check them out, see if you think they're a good resource for you. We make those introductions, and then we just kind of manage it along the way. If anything changes, they want to switch it up, do something different with their plan. So the plans are really specialized, really kind of goal oriented for the individual. And they're really flexible and kind of, we can just kind of, adapt as maybe somebody works with us over a course of time. So
you mentioned that mental health has become something that's really been more prevalent recent, especially during the pandemic, in terms of being top of mind and being something that individuals are really looking for. What's been another either recent trend or something that individuals have been reaching out for a lot of help with?
Either counseling, as mentioned, or coaching, like leadership, professional coaching has been the other one. A lot of people are saying, we're tired of having to be resilient. Like everyone was under the mindset that the pandemic was going to be this shorter thing than it has been. No one was ready for 18 to 24 months of this pandemic when we were told, oh, it's going to be done in 2 weeks, right? So, everybody was like, resiliency and self-care and these things became buzzwords. And now people are like, okay, the skills that we had aren't working anymore. Everyone has a lack of focus. No one seems to be able to manage their time or their tasks well. There's all kinds of, Zoom fatigue, personal fatigue, work from home fatigue, remote, like all of these changes. We're going to all, shift and adapt and be here. And now we're going to shift and adapt and work here. So basically the other trend that we're hearing is like all the things that were working aren't working anymore. We need more skills. Like we didn't expect to have to be resilient for this long. Like we're all just tired. So coaching kind of in that area has been the other kind of most sought after resource.
I'll leave this pretty broad so you can take it in whatever direction you want, but what's been a helpful tip, especially more on the side of the workshops, a tip, a recommendation, something that you've either applied for yourself, but what's been something that's been a helpful tip that you've been able to throw out there that, and it could be on the leadership side, the resiliency side, the Zoom fatigue side, pick any side, but just a helpful tip that you've been able to offer with you and your team in these workshops.
Oh, that's a good one. I think first I'll throw out two. First two that come to mind for me. We have done and had a request for a lot of mindfulness-based workshops. And I think for me personally, and something that I've heard a lot of people say is we think that mindfulness has to be like this quiet space, Zen moment where we're just not using our brains and things are floating by like clouds and we just are like quiet and contemplative and nothing's going on in our heads. One of the things that I think has been really helpful to learn personally is that mindfulness is really just an intentional practice and can look a lot of different ways. It may be going just outside for a walk and noticing the sounds around you. It may be walking around your room barefoot, laying on the floor, feeling physicality. It may be just taking 5 deep breaths at your desk, kind of some refocus point. It doesn't have to be like kind of the thing that we always thought it was when we thought of like meditation or mindfulness. So that has been helpful. And habit forming, I think, has been another really interesting one book that was recently recommended that's like the next one on my reading list is Atomic Habits. So if anyone likes resources and books, that's one that's been recommended. But talking to some of our coaches about forming habits that are really simple, so a lot of times we think we have to make these grand transformations in our life to start something new or incorporate a new practice. Well, one of our coaches uses this practice called 2 by 2, and it's do something for 2 minutes. And likely if you, start out doing something for 2 minutes, you might do it a little bit longer than 2 minutes, but have a goal of 2 minutes and don't miss 2 days in a row. So that's been helpful for me because, if I'm trying to start a new practice, incorporate a new practice, I miss a day and I'm like, I missed a day. It's ruined. I have to start again next week, or next month. And so that idea of just like, you know what? I can have grace for myself. Today was a busy day. Didn't get it done, but I'm not going to miss 2 days in a row. So yeah, I think kind of trying to like not put so much pressure on ourselves maybe is what I'm getting at when wanting to start something new or start a new routine or trying to be more mindful. It doesn't have to be this perfect practice. It's just being intentional. So
yeah, I like it. Talk about the cohorts. You have cohorts, which I think is a cool element as well. So talk about the cohorts.
Yeah, sure. So one of the things that was requested a lot pre-pandemic was just peer support. It might be CEOs that are wanting to meet with other CEOs. It might be frontline kind of hands-on social work that are wanting to have other people in the same space, maybe are, confidential space, like maybe not people from the same company or organization, but other people who are doing similar work that they can just process with, or just being with people that understand kind of the space that they're in. So groups and cohorts were something that were kind of being requested. During the pandemic, we've tried a few online. We've done one around the Enneagram. It was a year-long CEO leadership cohort on the Enneagram. The other one that we did is called it just wrapped up, is called Find Rest. And it was people in all different helping professions that just are kind of looking for ways to work from rest rather than work until you get a vacation, or working really hard and then just crashing to take rest. Like, how do we kind of flip that around to be more sustainable long term? So that was a small group of 8 that we just kind of finished up, that was meeting online. We've got another one starting in February that we're really excited about launching. This one is going to be in person again, and it's specifically geared towards pastors and clergy. So sometimes we offer things that are really broad, sometimes they're a little bit more focused. This one is focused on pastors. It's called Sabbath Life. We're partnering with another nonprofit in Nashville, the Center for Living and Learning. It's a farm in Franklin, South Nashville, for adults with persistent and severe mental illness. They have a community-supported agriculture program and gardens. So this cohort is geared towards being outside, getting your hands in the dirt, getting to see some actual, fruit manifestation from your labor. I think a lot of times people in helping professions don't maybe necessarily see the outcome of what they're putting in. So part of this practice called Sabbath Life is getting to plant, harvest, grow, and have some tangible just result from the labor that they're putting in. It's also geared towards healthy eating. So they're going to get to receive food from the gardens that they're working in and have a shared meal together around a table. So the morning is spent in the garden. Midday, they're eating a farm fresh table, farm to table, fresh meal, healthy meal for lunch. And then the afternoon is spent in solitude. It could be whatever the person needs for the day. And it doesn't have to be the same every month. Maybe they want to take a walk. Maybe they want to take a nap in a hammock. Maybe they want to spend more time in the garden. Maybe they want to talk with a spiritual director that we'll have on site. Maybe they want to journal. Maybe they want to read. So the afternoon is just geared towards their rest. It's once a month. February to November, so avoid the super cold months. And it'll be the first Monday of each month for the first 6 or 5 months. And it'll actually shift and be the third Monday for the second 5 months, just based on holiday schedules and stuff like that. But yeah, so anybody kind of in the Middle Tennessee area that would be interested, who works for a church or a ministry or is a pastor that wants to come and experience a day of Sabbath, we're about to open signups for that.
Awesome. Talk about how else we can help. Obviously, spreading the word and what you do, getting more nonprofits and clergy and individuals to just raise the awareness for what you do and get them involved. But how can the community help?
Yeah, I mean, we are a nonprofit, so we are always looking for funding support. So the community, if anyone watching this is like, this is really cool, like my spouse works in the nonprofit sector. We hear people all the time be like, man, where was this when I was in the nonprofit space, or when I was a pastor, and then before I got burnt out, so maybe somebody hearing this would like to jump on as a monthly donor and just be able to support people in the work. It's $7 a month or more. So it's super easy entry point if people want to support the work, but, definitely sharing what we do. Most of what we do is geared in Middle Tennessee. People are wanting to meet face-to-face if possible, especially after everything being online for so long. And most of our therapists and coaches and nutritionists and fitness trainers and everybody are in Middle Tennessee. Yeah, spreading the word, reach out if this speaks to you. If you are in the nonprofit helping professional space and you're interested in resources that are affordable, we'd love to match you. But yeah, if you know anybody that if you think it might be a good fit for your church and their staff, you want to help your pastors, let them know about it. You know about a great nonprofit that could use some extra support for their staff. We spent a year and a half really rebuilding in 2018 and figuring out what we were going to do kind of in 2019, really started grooving in 2019. 2020 hits, we had to go all online, which I will say we still have a lot of virtual resources. So if this is going out to Memphis or other areas, or you're not in Nashville, we can still help match you with resources. But yeah, 2020 was all virtual. And now we're really we just did a whole bunch of workshops and online stuff. And now we're able to get back to our regular scheduled programming a bit. And so we have this huge network of people that are geared and excited about working with clients. So I feel like we are really ready to expand what we have been doing. Like we figured it out. We're ready to bring on new clients and work with more organizations. So yeah, spread the word far and wide. We've got the infrastructure built and we're ready to roll. So.
Well, that makes it easy. Last question is, where do we go? So website, social media, where would you direct us to go?
Yeah, I would say website's a great place to start, because from there people would be prompted to sign up for our newsletter. I think our newsletter is probably our most cohesive space to get resources or to see what workshops we're offering, what cohorts we've got going on. We're kind of always launching new stuff. So like we'll probably do more cohorts in addition to Sabbath Life. That's just the only one we've got like on the books right now. But we do workshops throughout the year, and we also promote what our providers are doing. So if they're leading a retreat or they've released a book or they're doing an online workshop, we highlight all of that in our newsletters. We send out 2 a month. So one of them is kind of geared towards workshops and resources that are available. And then one's geared towards, it's more of a reflective kind of thing of what season are we in? And we kind of give some prompts that could be used for personal reflection. But if you go to the website, day-7.org, it'll prompt you to sign up for the newsletter. If you want that or interested in that and learning about our resources, you can sign up for that there. But then our social media for Facebook and Instagram is what we have. And it's just day7, the number 7 Inc. And we put stuff out on our Facebook and Instagram too. So that's a great place to start. But the newsletter is probably the most all-inclusive, what we have, upcoming each month.
Well, Candace, greatly appreciate all you and your team do. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks, Jeremy. Love it. Love being with you, and good to see you again, and love the work y'all do. So thank you for including us.